Hey guys, what's going on? BMcG here, and today we're here to talk about my 7-star rank 2 NORTHSTAR. I pulled this guy out of one early access bundle, so I got extremely lucky to get this guy as a 7-star, and it would have been a crime not to take this dude to rank 2, so that is exactly what we did. We ranked him up, and we threw on the Gambit Relic for the extra precision during special attacks that have physical hits, and this dude is an absolute beast for long form content. So the way that NORTHSTAR works is that he builds up momentum throughout the fight. You gain momentum by using a special attack, and you gain a certain amount of momentum based on the amount of power that you've used. So a special 1 gives you 1 momentum, a special 2 will give you 2 momentum, special 3 will give you 3 momentum. When NORTHSTAR has 2 or more momentum, he becomes passively unstoppable on dash attacks. When he has 6 or more momentum, when the first or second hit of his special attacks are blocked, he becomes passively unblockable. And when he has 10 or more momentum, he passively stuns the opponent after every single special attack. The real bread and butter towards actually building the momentum is that it increases the amount of prowess that you can gain on special attacks, and that is what allows NORTHSTAR's damage to just completely skyrocket in these long form fights. NORTHSTAR is relatively very easy to play in my opinion. When you start using him and you're just building him up, you want to build just under a special 3 while doing full 5 hit combos to get you there, or full 5 input combos, because this guy's combo is like Quicksilver and he's got multiple hits per input. But if you're doing enough light attacks, your light attacks will be giving you reverb charges, and when you launch your special 2, the special 2 will convert those reverb charges into reverb passives, and those will allow you to deal physical burst damage on every single hit, and the damage from those bursts becomes quite significant as you ramp up the prowess. So I like to drop the special 2 first, and then immediately go in afterwards for the special 1. The special 1 gives you pauses every time you land a critical hit, and that will pause all prowess buffs on you and all reverb passives on you as well. So that was pretty quick for a 1.5 million health pool opponent in my opinion, and he ramps up nicely, so the more health they have, the better he shines. Next up, we've got Spring of Sorrow Gwenpool, who also has north of 1 million health, and this is going to be a perfect showcase of my favorite ability of NORTHSTAR's, and that is his Speed Burst. Speed Burst will start the fight on a 24-second cooldown, and when it expires, you can activate it by using a special attack after a dash attack, or punishing the opponent's heavy attack or special attack. So the really cool thing about Speed Burst is that it makes your special attacks cost 25% less power. So it is essentially built-in power efficiency, and this is huge for someone who really likes to spam special attacks. Not only is your main damage source, but your main ramp-up source. So you're going to see us activate Speed Burst very quickly here. After Gwenpool uses the special 1, we are going to dex it, and then immediately dash in and drop our special 2. Our special 2 costs 25% less power, and in my opinion, abilities that are tied to punishing the opponent's animations are some of the most fun abilities to have in the game. I love Overseer's retaliation mechanic. I've always thought Gladiator's design was really interesting and awesome as well, and this is just a really simple design, but I also think it adds some flavor and like fun to the kit, because like it kind of incentivizes playing like a speedster and like charging at the opponent and then immediately unleashing your barrage of special attacks. I think it's really cool thematically, and it works out really well in actually using the character in fights. I think it's awesome. So that special 2 from NORTHSTAR was huge, and the beautiful thing about this kit is that you are ramping for that special attack to be your normal special attack every time you use one. I really cannot stand when champions build up currency and then cash it out on a special attack. There are some champs where it works really well, but it's always this juggling act. It's like, is this special 2 gonna kill the opponent? Am I gonna be screwed? And I'm not a fan of that. I don't like thinking that hard when playing the game. I just like, tapping the screen and dealing good damage, and that's what NORTHSTAR does. NORTHSTAR ramps so NORTHSTAR can hit hard for the whole fight. And this is a great segue because we are getting into Necropolis against Hitmonkey, one of the best fights for NORTHSTAR in the game, if not the best fight for NORTHSTAR in the game. So against skill champions, if they evade, NORTHSTAR will gain 1 momentum every time they evade. So as you guys are seeing here, our ramp up is significantly sped up because Hitmonkey keeps evading us, and this allows us to build up to 10 momentum very quickly, and that will significantly amplify our damage, and it's just an all-around good time. So while NORTHSTAR, his ramp up is significantly sped up here, I do think he has a lot of uses in Necropolis in general. I think he can be useful everywhere else in there if you need someone to do what he can do. He can take a lot of fights in 1 to 2 revives in my opinion, and he could even solo a lot of them. So while NORTHSTAR does ramp up significantly faster against Hitmonkey, he does have a lot of use in Necropolis as a general attacker. He can solo some fights, he can do a lot of fights in 1 to 2 revives, and he's just all around safe to use in Necropolis. He doesn't have some super rigid rotation that you have to do. It's just use special attacks, do 5-hit combos or 5 input combos, and you'll see really good results. You don't need to have like some PhD of MCOC knowledge to have good results from this guy. And that's a part of the beauty of this kit. I really love the way that NORTHSTAR was designed. I think everything compounds on each other very nicely. Momentum gives you great benefits, Speed Burst gives you great benefits, and just playing the champion gives you great benefits. It's like everything ties into each other very nicely, and it's just this very fluid kit with very fun animations, and it kind of has the recipe for a champion that I love. I think NORTHSTAR might be one of my next rank 3s, and a lot of people are going to give me crap for it because he's not great in Battlegrounds. But the thing is, I don't really care about that anymore. Like, Battlegrounds is whatever. The meta champs will come and go, but questing champions who are amazing, they don't come very often in my opinion. Like, Onslaught is amazing in every single game mode of the game, and Onslaught was actually a comparison I used for NORTHSTAR because Onslaught does it all. But the thing that makes Onslaught and NORTHSTAR different is that you have to do a certain thing with Onslaught to maintain that maximum damage. You need to use heavy attacks when the opponent is not stunned. And yes, that can be very easy sometimes. It can also be very frustrating. The AI loves to throw 5-hit combos into your block. That doesn't give you an opening for your heavy attack, and all your stuff could start falling off. The thing with NORTHSTAR, it's like, use a special one to pause and that's it. Your ramp will stay there. And that was kind of my hang up with NORTHSTAR, is like I kept comparing him to everything that already existed, when he doesn't really compare to anything else that exists. Strife is one of those ramp up champions that persists throughout the quest, and he kind of is weaker in earlier fights because he ramps up so strongly in the end. He is like, when using Strife, you build to that max ramp, and that's what you're expecting. Whereas NORTHSTAR, every fight is the same with this guy, and his reach is better in my opinion for that reason. The way that he was designed allowed him to shine in smaller fights and not just be some super Everest champion. Yes, he pops off in Everest fights, but I do think that NORTHSTAR has a lot of questing use. I do think he will have some Alliance War use for those who, aren't using, Titania for every single fight. I think this champion has a solid spot in this game, and you guys might not see it yet. I haven't shown you guys it exactly yet, and I think I might take this dude to rank 3. I was watching DLL's stream, and he said something that I absolutely loved. If you need a fight to be faster than 60 seconds, this is not the champion for you. But if a fight can be longer than 60 seconds and you won't get punished for it, this champion is going to be very, very, very solid. I'm showing you guys some long form content because I do think this guy is a long form king. But when I take this dude to rank 3, I'm going to show you guys as much stuff as possible and show you guys everything that he can do. I'll even showcase some Battlegrounds clips because I know people are going to want to see that. I don't think he's going to do that well. I already tried him at rank 2. It took him a whole 90 to 110 seconds to take a rank 3 Killmonger or a rank 3 Korg. He doesn't punch up very well, but I think this dude is an absolute blast. You guys don't have to agree with me. That's fine. But when I am dealing 10% health off of one special 2 against an opponent in Necropolis, I find that very fun. And every single special 2 that you decide to use in long form content like this is that large. It's so much fun. So to show you guys how open-ended this guy's kit is and how easy he is to use for a lot of fights, I decided to go up against every corrupted boss in Act 8 and just show you guys how well he does against a lot of these fights. I was able to solo 3 out of 4 of them. If I didn't suck at the Glykhan fight, I would have soloed that one as well. But we ended up eating a heavy attack during the last phase, which is an instant kill. And, you know, I kind of scrubbed it up. But NORTHSTAR is one of the best options for Black Widow here. You guys are going to see how quick this fight is. And I absolutely loved using NORTHSTAR for this fight. The only corrupted Act 8 boss that I fought with NORTHSTAR that I didn't really enjoy was Glykhan. NORTHSTAR really pops off when his red numbers are allowed to shine. You guys are going to see me deleting certain phases of fights in just like one special attack. And it's just bonkers. I've had similar results with other characters, but it hasn't been as drastic as he has been. It's kind of nuts. And the way that his kit works with prowess gain and his reverb passive gain, it makes it to where if they fall off, it's very easy to just build them back up. And with the damage amplifiers that you get from breaking the opponent's armor here, it doesn't really matter if they fall off, because you'll be gaining them when you launch your special attack, and it does some really good damage. I normally don't get like too like ridiculously hyped up over damage, but like look at that, like that was a heavy attack that just like wiped out a whole phase. Like, come on, guys. So guys, if you thought that heavy attack was cool, wait until you see the special 2 that deletes this next phase. It's just nuts. It's gonna happen pretty quickly here. We eat a combo, not a huge deal, but we get an intercept, and we're gonna drop the special 2, get her rooted, and just watch her health. Watch it. Where'd it go? I don't know where it went, but it's gone, and this fight is pretty much over with. She does some really annoying things where she like gets rid of your prowess in this phase or whatever. So it does take a little bit longer to close out this fight. But man, that was super satisfying to use her for these fights, because the special 2 just wiped out that one phase, and then the heavy attack wiped out that one phase. It was just awesome. And yeah, I haven't had this much fun playing a brand new champion in so long, especially a mutant. Mutant champions normally are very hit or miss for me, and I really liked Onslaught, and I am really liking NORTHSTAR. So I don't know, I'm pretty pumped. I think this dude might be in my short list of, you know, next rank 2s, because the kit is just a lot of fun, and yeah, he's just a really good time. And I do think he's gonna be a great tool to have in my toolkit. I like to refer his champs as like tools. Maybe I'll make a video about like my rank up thought process, because every champ I rank up has a purpose. Sometimes I do it just for fun and just because it's like stupid and silly, but like generally when I'm investing like rank 3 resources in champions, I try to have an actual use for all these champions, and I try to make it to where they do something for my account. And I think he's going to be great for a lot of Spring of Sorrow stuff going forward. He's also going to be great for future Everest stuff if that does come out anytime soon. But next up, we've got Hulk Bahamet, and NORTHSTAR is a decent option here. Obviously, Bahamet is a science champion, so you want to use skill champions because Purifier ramps up the volatility charges a lot faster. But on the other hand, NORTHSTAR has the damage to clear some of these phases in a single special attack, and it's the way he works with the armor being broken and the way his red numbers will scale against these opponents. It's just so much fun to use him for stuff like this. He feels like such a long form beast, and I don't know, guys. I think this champion is just awesome. So I believe this fight is going to be one of the fights that shows off. If you can't keep things paused, it's not a huge deal. Because the way he works is that the more specials you use, the stronger the specials become when you use them. And if your prowess and passives fall off, you can just use special attack again and get them back. And it's not a huge deal. He's very easy to use and stuff like this. And that's why he's one of my favorite options for these long form fights. He might not be the best option for Bahamet, but if your account is limited in options and you end up using him for it, he's going to deal some really solid damage. This fight was a little bit on the longer side. It was a 10-minute fight, so I am going to clip out the parts where we wait up the buildup of the volatility charges. But I am going to show us, gaining them. And you guys will see at the end, we have the fight screen that shows like the 10-minute victory. So you guys will see that I did in fact solo. And it's an all-around just really simple time using him for stuff like this. We do need to get in here and get that special one off so we get the pauses, but we didn't get it, as you can tell, because we had none of our reverb passives active. But we do build up the third volatility charge here. Now we just need this guy to use a special one, and I think he finally does right here. Yep, he throws it, and now we are ready to go, and we are gonna wipe this dude's health off. We just used the special one, so I'm gonna go for the special two instead, and the special two is gonna deal some really nasty damage. So we're gonna go in here after, I think, a parry. Dash back, dash in for the speed burst, and look at this damage. Boom, boom, boom. And that is phase 2 completely done in one special 2. It's just so much fun when you are able to just dish out that much damage against the opponent. And yeah, I know that I'm showing off these scenarios where our damage is amplified, but I also showed you Labyrinth Electra, Spring of Sorrow Gwenpool, Necropolis Hitmonkey. All these scenarios where his damage isn't ramped up by these scenarios where we're removing the corrupted armor. But I do think this dude is just a genuine blast to play. I haven't had this much fun using a brand new champion in a long time, like I said earlier. And I'm being 100% genuine when I say that. Yes, there are some things that I would personally change about the character's design, but it doesn't really matter. I think that this character has a role, has a purpose, and what they do and what they can do, they fill that role and they do exactly what they need to do perfectly well. That was another phase deleted by another special 2. And now this last phase does take a little bit longer. This took up most of the fight time, I think. It took up like 40% of it. But we are able to whittle this dude down and get him into negative armor, essentially. And I believe this special 2 into special 1 will sort this guy out. The passive stun gave us the opening there. We dropped the special 1, and he is done. Really solid fight there. And again, if you're fine with a fight taking a little bit longer, if you want a safe option that is guaranteed to cash out against the opponent when they lose their corrupted armor, he's one of the best options to go with. Next up, we've got the Cerastes boss, and this fight was only possible because of the Odin buffs that we are able to place on us, the crossfight buffs. You gain extra benefits for having buffs against Cerastes, but NORTHSTAR has 3 buffs on him now. He also gains prowess buffs, so that's another type of buff that allows you to, counter his abilities, and I think it counters the rate at which he gains the charges for his armor sets or whatever. But Cerastes, again, is a really fun fight because it allows NORTHSTAR's red numbers to really pop off. When you break the corrupted armor, it allows you to just amplify your damage significantly, and it's awesome to see how wild his damage numbers can get. So we broke his legs there, I believe. Next up, we need to break his block, so we broke, I think, the shield systems, and now we just need to use a striker against this guy, and we throw the striker. We gain the striker very fast in this fight, which is just awesome. And we drop the special 1 here, and this is just to ramp up our momentum. So yeah, special ones in quick succession here to ramp up our momentum. It also allows us to build up our pauses. It keeps our prowess buffs paused, and if we were to drop a special 2, we might have some pauses left over for the reverb passes that we gain. But I do think this fight is going to be another showcase of it's okay for the prowess to fall off. It's okay for the reverb passes to fall off, because you can ramp them back up and it's not going to be the end of the world. These fights against these late Act 8 bosses are designed to be longer fights. They're designed to take 3 to 4 minutes if you're using like the absolute top tier option. And that's the really cool thing about NORTHSTAR, is that he's not the absolute top tier option to this fight. But because of the way that this fight is designed, it allows him to really pop off and shine. It allows him to become a really strong option, and if he is your only option, then he becomes a very, 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 very good option because of the way his kit works for stuff like this. If you have time to build up your momentum, you will be dealing great damage later in the fight, even if you can't stay ramped up like I just said. So now we have entered the second phase, and I'm going to be honest with you guys, I don't know the phases of this fight. I just know later in the fight he goes stun immune, and then you want to alternate doing a set of 3 of these, you know, weakening his armor essentially. So I strike his block after a special attack. Now I want to use a striker, and then I want to use a heavy attack, and then I want to bait the special attack from him and then hit his block. There's a nice rhythm that you get into with this fight that you don't really have to memorize all the phases. And right here, now we remove the corrupted armor, and we're going to start ramping up and dealing some solid damage. This fight isn't going to be one of those fights where we just delete him in one phase, at least not this early on in the fight, because we still want to ramp up our momentum all the way to the max. But yeah, we got some good pauses in there, we've got some prowess buffs built up, and now we are ready for that special 2. We just need to remove this guy's armor again, which isn't going to be hard at all, because honestly, this is probably the easiest corrupted Act 8 boss in my opinion. Glykhan's the hardest, but I think this guy's the easiest. But I also do think this one has like the most fun loop, I guess. I don't know the proper way to you know, word that, but I have the most fun fighting this fight. I think this fight was done very well. Right here we going for the striker, and it gets blocked because I stink. But we go for the special 1 here, knock him down, and that is just some pretty decent damage going through, you know, the corrupted armor. We didn't take it down yet, so that was pretty decent. We go for the special 1 here to get some pauses, which is huge because we've got those reverb passives now, and we want to keep those and make sure we keep them for the next wounded phase, because that's what's going to allow us to deal really strong damage. Drop the heavy attack there, and I think we mess up and allow these you know, passives to fall off, which stinks because that was going to be our main damage source to get through this fight. But hey, it is what it is. We learn from our mistakes. We do drop some heavy attacks here because this is the fastest way to build power with him. His combo is a bit slower than most champions, but using heavy attacks will give you, you know, a decent amount of combat power rate for each input you're doing. But right there, we got some reverb passes back. We do need to throw a special 1 to get our pauses going. We are able to get a parry in here, then a striker, and then I believe we throw the special 1 to pause here. Yep, there we go. And see what I mean about how quickly you can gain prowess when you're ramped up? I mean, that was 14 prowess from one special 1. And in long fights, if your ramp falls off, it's not a huge deal to re-ramp if it's that fast. He's not one of those champions like, oh, you got hit and you lost your combo, you're kind of screwed. He's not like that, which is really cool. But we are now about to start dishing out some really solid damage here. Drop the special 1, and boom. Really solid stuff there. We, I think, are going to go for a... Oh, no, we have to go for an intercept now because we moved into the next phase. One thing I do hate with this guy is intercepting. I don't like using the multi-hit combo champions to land intercepts because I like to do light intercepts. And since the light animation is a longer animation here, it's very easy for you to get punished. Like, they'll wait out your 3 hits and then punch you immediately afterwards. It's quite annoying, and I'm not a fan of intercepting with this dude. He does go unstoppable on dash attacks, which does help alleviate that issue, but still, not a fan of intercepting with this guy, just because it's stressful, and the animations just feel a little bit slower. But yeah, we removed this guy's armor again, and our basic attacks are dealing really solid damage here with this physical burst that we're getting. We're dropping our heavy attacks here to build to a special 1. We get some really nice damage there, and we are very close to finishing this fight out. So the last phase of this fight is super easy. He just goes passively unstoppable, and you have to dance with him, and then you have to wait for that passive unstoppable to expire, and when it expires, he's inflicted with a passive intimidate, and then you just have to do a medium light into their block, and then they will fall over. It's a really fun fight in my opinion. This is one of my favorite Act 8 bosses, and yeah, I always enjoy coming back here to fight this guy because I do find this fight to be very fun. I really like the way that it utilizes strikers as a mechanic. But yeah, we finished that fight pretty quickly there. I mean, that was 6 to 7 minutes. I know there are some better options who handle it faster. I know like Vox did it in like, I think 4.5, 5 minutes when I originally did this. Gamora's really great for it as well. But yeah, we eat a special 1 there, and we still live. We're getting really close to being cornered, so we drop our special 2, and somehow it counts as an intercept. And now he's intimidated, so we just wait for him to dash back, dash in, light attack, and boom, falls over. Really solid option for that fight. I don't think it was the best option because obviously, you know, Cerastes is a tech champion, so we have class disadvantage, so we're chewing through that the whole time. Yeah, it was. I found it fun. I think it was a solid, you know, fight, and I think he does a solid job there. So next up we have Glykhan, and I don't think that NORTHSTAR is a great option for this fight specifically. He's just an option. He has prowess buffs and access to them in large amounts, so that is one way that you are able to ramp up your damage against this guy, is prowess buffs and effects, and that allows NORTHSTAR to ramp up his damage and do some really solid stuff. But Glykhan here doesn't take damage from red numbers, and as you guys have seen in the previous clips, NORTHSTAR loves his red numbers, and if you do not have the red numbers, he is not going to be feeling as amazing as he does normally. I do think that he's a solid option here if you're really good at fighting Glykhan, but for me, I'm not great at fighting Glykhan. We did not solo this fight. We got very close to soloing it, but yeah, I'm not great at fighting this guy. I never got a solo against this guy, surprisingly. Normally I'm pretty good about making sure I try to get solos against this guy, but or solos against the corrupted Act 8 bosses, but I never was too bothered to, you know, try to get the solo against this guy because you only fight him like 4 times, I think, or 3 or 4 times. It doesn't matter if you know how to solo it. It's just like if you could do it cost effectively and use, you know, the 5 champions on your team to take him down, it doesn't really matter. But I did want to highlight this fight because of the prowess buffs that he gains and his ability to, you know, ramp up the damage throughout the fight. I did run power back boosts, so the second phase would be a little bit easier, because the one thing that like NORTHSTAR has a disadvantage with here is actually his passive stun, because when you use a special attack that triggers one of his punishments, and then when you're fully ramped up at 10 momentum, you're inflicting a passive stun on the opponent. So you're inflicting 2 punishments with 1 action, and it becomes kind of tough to juggle things here because your specials are your main source of damage, and it's kind of tough to, you know, launch your special attacks when, you know, your special icon for the punishment of specials or whatever is at 3, and then your punishment of stuns, that's also at 3. So then you'd have to wait until both of them come down, you know, after you relinquish punishments. It's just, he's a bit stressful to use here. I do think he's fine enough if you're good at the game. Like, MSD would probably solo this fight with ease, but I'm not MSD, and I wasn't able to solo, but I do think he's a solid enough option. So, yeah, The whole first phase here is pretty much just dedicated to ramping up our momentum, getting to 10 momentum, and building up all these pauses, because all of our special attacks are guaranteed critical hits if you properly chain them. So that allows us to ramp up like 40-50 pauses, and that makes it to where our prowess will pretty much never fall off if we're doing what we need to be doing. And that is very useful for phase 2, especially if you're running the power back boosts, because your special 2s don't give you pauses. So you really need to have a lot of pauses from the special 1s, that way you can just loop special 2s and hopefully nuke phase 2 before your stuns and special punishments get out of hand. So we are getting very close to phase 2 here. I believe this special 1 here is going to seal the deal after we bait this guy's special. I got very good at phase 1. We finished phase 1, I think, taking no damage or very close to no damage. I think we might take a blocked hit, but yeah, I was really happy with the way we handled phase 1 here. At least a really great way to just ramp this guy up. And now we're on to phase 2, and phase 2 is a little bit trickier, but yeah, I'll show you guys how strong the power back boosts do come into play here, because we do have a really solid amount of prowess going into this fight. And I was really trying to land these intercepts here. The intercepts will reduce your stun ability accuracy, and this dude kept doing the same thing every single time. He would do like the parry walk and then like not actually attack me. But since we are passively unstoppable during our dash attacks, it doesn't matter if he plays into us or not. So I don't know, it is what it is. We just didn't get enough of those, punishments. So our specials are going to stun. And yeah, it's just going to make this fight take a little bit longer. I do wish intercepting with this guy was a little bit easier, but he's great in everything else. So hey, can't really complain too much. Right there, we make a mistake and eat the last hit of the special 2, but it doesn't really matter because we go passively unstoppable on dash attacks, so you could just dash right through that hit and then attack him. For some reason, I couldn't get that special 2. I couldn't get it right. I don't know what was wrong with me there. I found it tough to get the dex and then dash in and get the relinquished to happen, but we are able to get the special 2 off here, and I think we just need one more special 2 and then this fight is handled, and then we can get into the next phase, which is really easy, at least in my opinion. I think phase 2 is the most annoying phase with NORTHSTAR, at least, just because of the way that his kit works with the passive stun and then the special punishments. You get hindered here a little bit. But yeah, I keep messing up the special 1 or the special 2 there, where he throws the axe hammer. I really like this special here, the original special 1, because it's a lot easier to punish. But there we go. I think the special 2 here closes out the fight, and we are now in phase 3, and this one's going to be super straightforward and easy. But we do end up eating a heavy attack late in this fight, so I think we're going to get close to ramping down this video and winding down. If you guys did enjoy this video and learn something new about NORTHSTAR, maybe I changed your opinion on him, let me know in the comments down below. And while you're scrolling down to those, if you're not subscribed and you're still here, consider subscribing. I like building my community here. Interacting with the community that I've built on my channel is my favorite thing. I have the notifications on for comments, so every time you guys comment, I see it immediately, and it's just fun interacting with all you guys. So I'm going to let this fight play out. There's really not much else of it left, and I don't want to be watching it when I die because I'll just get frustrated. So I'll see you guys for the next video or stream. Peace out.